The lack of good year-round roads helped to hasten the arrival of the railway, which had just become successful in England with the adaptation of steam to the tramway and the opening of the Liverpool and Manchester Railway in 1830. As early as 1836, just 6 years after rail became a success in England and before Lambton was a separate county, leading citizens of the Rapids, or Port Sarnia, both names were still in use, sent delegates to muddy York, or Toronto, to negotiate for a railway from London to the Rapids. It was in 1836 that the Great Western Railway first secured permission to extend its line westward to Point Edward. However, it would be a while before rails would reach Sarnia. The first Great Western train from Hamilton didn't steam into London until 1853. In 1856, the line reached Kamoka, and then was built through Strathroy, and from there south of Warwick, creating new communities at Watford, Wanstead, Wyoming, and Mandamin, and then on west to Sarnia, leading to an expansion of the docks so that Sarnia became a focal point between rail and shipping, contributing to Sarnia becoming a major grain port. So our first line was in reality a Sarnia to Kamoka line, not Sarnia to London. Soon after, another line, the Grand Trunk Railway, would enter Lambton from St. Mary's to the southwest, creating new communities at Thetford, Forest, Kamlaki, and Blackwell as the rail made its way west to Point Edward. The rail links led to Point Edward becoming essentially a railroad town, with a large turnhouse and casino developing. The station, which at one time included immigrant sheds, by 1861, rail became very important in the transport of crude oil, at first through Wyoming, but later extended south to Petrolia. A second east-west line, about 12 miles south of the Grand Western, followed in 1872. The Canada Southern entered Brook from St. Thomas, heading west through Alvinston, Inwood, Oil City, and Brigden to Cartwright. This line linked with the Erie and Huron Railway, which ran along the St. Clair through Port Lambton, Sombra, Cartwright, and Corunna to Sarnia. By the 1880s, rail was in its heyday locally, with at least 8 rail lines running through Lambton, helping to develop many and marginalize some other communities, including beach areas. The rail gave Lambton a chance to export oil and to encourage more settlement, initially for the oil industry but also for spin-off jobs, such as accommodation and mills. One very important job was that of cooper. Many factories were built solely to make barrels needed to ship crude oil by wagon and rail. There was another railway for a brief time. Lambton was heavily timbered. Many trees were cut to build cabins and other buildings in the pioneer communities, but most of the bush was cut for gain. Some trees were burned for potash, which was used for gunpowder or soap, and then carried out for sale. There was also a large trade in lumbering, especially for shipbuilding, but the problem was getting the lumber out. The Don Tramway solved that problem. Tracks and rolling stock were brought by schooner up the Sydenham, and a line laid through the heavy timbers of Don to take out timber. Starting at the far end as timber was removed, tracks were rolled backward towards the river. When all of the track was eventually rolled back to the river, all the rolling stock was loaded back on the schooners, and the Don Tramway then vanished as a rail line in Lambton, with all trace of it soon becoming overgrown.